Another week, another record for Tom Brady, Trevin. 600 touchdowns. First player ever to do it. Came with a little bit of controversy, though. Mike Evans initially puts the ball down, starts doing his dance, goes back and picks it up. I thought he realized what touchdown it was and he was going to give the ball to Tom Brady. Turns out he just hands it to a fan in the stands yelling Big Mike, wearing a Mike Evans jersey. And that is where the debate starts, Trevin. What should that fan have done? And what would you have done in that situation?
What he should have done is tucked underneath his shirt and ran out of the stadium as fast as he could. That's a little tough. There's a lot of people around you. Maybe they realize what's going on right away. You don't want to get tackled. Maybe tuck it under and just say you need to go to the bathroom to try not to raise an alarm. And either way, you got to get out of the stadium as quick as possible because you have to know there's some negotiations going to be coming your way. And you'd much rather be home by doing whatever you're doing instead of surrounded by people that might be on the team side when it comes to the negotiations there. So that's what he should have done. What do you think?
Probably that. Except I think you gotta, I don't know, I would have been nervous having that ball in my house overnight or something if I went home, just in case the things being the way they are now. You'd probably get doxxed and who knows who shows up at your house if they think you have a $500,000 ball.
Yeah, so, I wouldn't be planning on holding it very long. I don't think I'd take it to auction. I think I'd just get home with it and then debate or negotiate with the team from there as far as what they could give me for the ball.
That same day?
Yeah. I'm not looking to hold it and take it all the way to auction.
I'll come back to the stadium and give it to you if you give me this deal.
Yeah, I mean, they can come pick it up too at that point, but I wouldn't really be asking for cash compensation. I know that'd be a little tougher to get from them, but I'd be asking for lifetime season tickets, something like that. That really doesn't have a cash value to the team. They'd easily do that, I think.
Yeah. The initial deal they reported on the broadcast was awful. I gave it an F on Grade the Trade on Twitter. He was supposed to get he got a different game used ball and he was supposed to get a signed jersey initially. What are you grading that trade?
That's an F, big time F. I feel for him a little bit though. I could see myself like being at a Raiders game and you get the ball handed to you and you're all excited, and then you got the team official coming over to you immediately and being like, "Hey, Derek Carr he really wants that football back. You want to make him happy and give him that football back?" That's why you got to get out of there. You got to remove yourself from the situation.
What about the final deal where he got a couple of game balls? I think it was a signed cleats for game-worn cleats for Mike Evans, jersey from Evans and Brady, a helmet, and $1,000 credit to the team store, and then season tickets for the rest of this year and next year. And Tom Brady hooked him up with a Bitcoin through his sponsorship deal with some Bitcoin trading platform.
I don't really know what to do with a Bitcoin, but everything else, I guess, could be kind of cool in your man cave.
I mean, you could sell the Bitcoin. Do you know what a Bitcoin's worth?
Yeah, but I'd just rather have them give me the cash. I don't want to deal with a Bitcoin.
Well, I mean, you gotta take what you can get. That's $58,732 as we record this. So
I did like on Monday, I think he's on the NFL Network, and they asked him what he'd ask for now, and he's like, "I'd like to play a round of golf with Brady." Like, your leverage is gone, buddy. You gave up the ball already. Yeah. Brady's not going to spend a whole day with you.
Yeah, the only leverage he has at that point is using the media to try to shame him into it. But what do you grade in the final deal that he actually got?
Oh, it's probably an A. Like he just got handed a lottery ticket. It's not like he did anything for it. He just happened to be the guy Mike Evans handed the ball to. So getting anything was probably fine.
Yeah.
He had some cool stuff to put in his house.
I'll say B, but I mean, it's not as much as he would have got at the auction, but he does look a little better in the eyes of the public probably for just giving it to him, and they took care of him okay.
Yeah.
All right, Trevin. Stat of the week time. Cooper Kupp has been tearing it up in LA for the Rams. Probably the biggest beneficiary by far from Stafford coming to the Rams. He's the first player in the Super Bowl era to record more than 800 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns in his team's first 7 games. Just blowing all the other fantasy wide receivers away. What do you think about Cooper Kupp so far?
I kept thinking this pendulum's going to swing back to Robert Woods to kind of level this thing off. I thought they'd be pretty equal weapons there at the Rams. They have been in the past. I thought Cooper Kupp maybe started the year hot, and Robert Woods would have some big games too. But Cooper Kupp's amazing. He has 190 points, fantasy points so far this year, in second place in PPR scoring. Second place is at Tyreek Hill at 150 points, so he's just lapping the field. And I don't see it slowing down. He's always open 15 yards down the field, and Stafford's making easy passes to him. It's not like he's making crazy contested catches in traffic or anything.
Yeah, it really has been pretty crazy. I mean, he could put up one of the greatest fantasy seasons for a wide receiver we've ever seen. Certainly on pace to shatter a lot of records. It'll be interesting to see if he can keep it up all year.
I guess that was my point. This doesn't seem unsustainable, what he's doing. There's not a couple blown coverages that have made him have 2 80-yard receptions in a couple games or anything like that. It just seems like the connection's working, and I don't know. Obviously, defenses are going to try to stop it, but it's going to keep going pretty strong, I think.
Yeah, the one thing you mentioned is Robert Woods. They made him a priority that one game on week 5 against Seattle. He had 14 targets, 12 receptions, 150 yards. So that was kind of his one blow-up game. But he's still wide receiver 27, I believe, on a points per game basis. So
I've actually got 19 on this one I'm looking at, but
yeah, mine's points per game. So for the teams that
gotcha. Yep.
Yeah. So he's doing okay. He's not the fringe wide receiver 1 or 2 we thought he was going to be, but he could get a little more volume going forward. I mean, Kupp's got a 34% target share, so it'll be interesting to see if he maintains that. He's number 1 in red zone targets. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if he can do this. It's historic pace, and it's tough to sustain that for 17 games now, Trevin.
Does he finish as wide receiver 1 this year?
He's got such a big lead. Unless he gets injured, it's hard to see him not. Your thoughts?
Nope, I'm with you.
Yeah, so fascinating. Good for Cooper Kupp. Trevin, it's spooky season. We're going to get a little spooky in the main event. Let's hop into it. For tonight's main event, we're doing a little trick-or-treating, Trevin. Or actually, the trick-or-treaters are coming to us. And first up at the door, we've got Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette's off to an awesome start this season, Trevin. He is he's wide receiver, running back 10 overall. He's averaging over 16 points a game, which is number 16 among running backs on a per game basis. So really strong start, continuing his momentum that he built last year in the playoffs with this team. You had those first 7 games this season. When those last 4, he's got a pretty decent 11-game sample here where he's been fully healthy with the Bucs, and the Bucs have been performing at a high level, and he is making the most of the opportunity he's gotten. So can he keep this up, Trevin? If somebody comes with a trade, or if Leonard Fournette comes to your house, you giving him a trick or a treat?
He's definitely been a treat. Rojo's non-existent. He's pretty much has the backfield to himself. Gio was hurt for a couple games, so Leonard's having quite a few. He has 5 targets a game, so he's getting the receptions to go along with the dominating the rushing carries of the backfield. So definitely a treat this year. If I'm competing this year, I'm not trading him anywhere. Maybe if I'm not competing, you can get a little extra on it and trade him away.
Definitely should be. If you're a contender, he's a great person to try to acquire, because for whatever reason, I don't think he's getting the credit he deserves for the production he's putting up. Number 5 in weighted opportunities, Trevin. Number 4 in red zone touches. He's got 6 goal line carries, which is number 4 among running backs. You mentioned what he's doing in the receiving game and his targets he's getting there, and he's turned that into production as well. Gio Bernard hasn't been as big of a factor as our boy Brent thought he would, but so that's been great for Fournette's production.
He was hurt for a little bit. Take it easy on Brent.
He's been more involved than I thought he might be, but Fournette's still getting plenty of work in the receiving game, and he's the clear lead back here. He's got 5 breakaway runs, which is number 7 among running backs. He's evading tackles, 26.7% juke rate. So there's a lot of things to like, and no real reason to see that he couldn't continue this. We talked about those red zone goal line touches. The Bucs are scoring a ton of points, and they're playing from ahead most of the time. So I think that continues, and I think Fournette has a great season if he can stay healthy, Trevin. He's getting everything you want: the receptions, the goal line carries, and a good workload in the rushing game as well.
Yep, I'm with you. It's not like he's got a big blow-up game either. He's just very consistently getting those 15 points, and then if he can get a touchdown or 2, then he gets to that 25, 30-point range. So definitely a guy you want to have if you're competing this year.
Yeah, 4 touchdowns through 7 games. That's not unsustainable at all based on the opportunity he's gotten. So he gets a king size candy bar from me, Trevin, if he comes trick-or-treat in my house.
I'm hanging on to the king sizes for now. I think I'll give him. It's better than the regular Halloween. It's not the snack size. It's regular.
The regular size, not the fun size.
Not the fun size, no.
All right, next up we got bye weeks, Trevin. We're coming off bye-apocalypse. Did you survive, and how do you feel about bye weeks in the fantasy season?
I wish they would have the same number of teams. I know they have to do a little bit different with like London games and stuff, but having 6 last week and only 2 this week, it can really make it for some lopsided fantasy. I know that's not what the NFL is really caring about, but when they do these schedules. But man, if you had a couple players on a couple of the 6 teams last week, then you got smoked. But going forward, like this week, you only have 2, so you might not be able to capitalize on somebody else getting smoked with bye week. So I hate them. I wish they were more balanced.
Wow, so you're doing a trick for bye weeks?
Yeah, bye weeks get a trick. It is a little fun if both you and your competitor are getting smoked with bye weeks and you're both kind of just plugging away trying to find guys to play. That's kind of enjoyable, but for the most part, it's pretty lopsided sometimes.
What's your go-to Halloween trick? Do you have one?
No, I don't. Do you have a Halloween trick?
No, I don't. But we should come up with one. Go ahead.
I do. I won't give the kids candy if they don't say trick or treat. That's kind of a little prank I pull on the little kids.
But you don't try to scare them or anything?
No, they're pretty little around here.
All right. I like bye weeks a little bit, actually. I think it's good because it separates the teams with depth from the teams without them. It's a chance to gain an advantage because a lot of the year, unless you have injuries, that depth doesn't really come into play. But bye weeks make it so that everybody has to go through them in equal amounts. Obviously, some weeks it's worse than others, but I think it provides a little bit of an incentive to have a deeper team and gives those better drafters who do a better job of filling out their bench or, acquiring players through waivers a little bit of an advantage. So I kind of like it from that perspective just because of the depth aspect. So I give it a fun size candy bar for me.
Huh. That's not bad points. I just wish they were even. I wish the same number of teams had a bye week every week.
Yeah, that would make it better. I mean, I think he had 7 or whatever it was last week and only 2 this week.
Mm-hmm.
Last week was rough. Did you have any real bad teams?
I didn't. Luckily I wasn't too heavy. Most of mine just had 1 or 2 guys. I didn't have stacked teams where it's just stacked as far as the teams that were bye weeks.
Yeah, same here. 6 teams last week. I misspoke. So, all right. So you're doing a trick, and I'm doing fun size candy bar on bye weeks. Yep. What about this Chiefs offense, Trevin? They're coming trick or treating. 3 points last week on the road at Tennessee against what's been a pretty soft defense so far this year. They were snake bitten by turnovers in this game, couldn't get any momentum going, and really just got stomped on the road in Nashville. So what do you think about this Chiefs offense so far, and what do you expect going forward?
Yeah, if there was one get-right game, I thought it was going to be the Titans, just based on the Titans' defense and what we've seen so far. I thought they would be able to kind of carve them up, and it just didn't happen. 3 points is unbelievable. I think it's the lowest amount of points that Mahomes has scored and lowest amount of points that Andy Reid scored since coming to the Chiefs 9 years ago or whatever. So there's definitely something wrong. I don't know if Mahomes specifically is kind of pressing just because he knows the defense is terrible, and they really can't stop anything. They can't rush the passer, and they can't stop a run. They can't stop pass. It's a bad defense. So I don't know if maybe he's pressing because he feels like he has to score 30, 35 points to get a win. And he has 9 interceptions so far this year. So I don't really think the issues are with the offense. I think that they're pressing to try to make up for their deficiencies on defense. So I'll still give the Chiefs a fun size candy bar on offense. I don't think it's really their fault.
Wow, fun size. So you are a little worried.
Yeah, a little worried. I think it's because they don't have Sammy Watkins.
That's definitely the problem. They lost a bunch of playmakers, and he was the big one. You think that's your best take ever on the show?
Yeah, it's looking like it, isn't it? He's gone, and now they can't win. So
I think they're still a treat. I'm giving them a regular size, though. I'm going to up you a little bit. So Patrick Mahomes, despite his struggles, number 5 quarterback in fantasy so far this season. You look at receiver, you've got Tyreek Hill, as you mentioned earlier, is number 2 among receivers so far this season. And then you've got Travis Kelce, who's still the number 1 tight end. And then you've got your boy, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was averaging double-digit points as a running back prior to his injury. So I think, this offense is fine. I do think what you said, I think you hit the nail on the head exactly what I would have said, is I think Mahomes is pressing because I think he realizes how bad this defense is and that they need to score as much as possible to try to make up for that. And I think that's come back to bite him a few times with some of these turnovers. He had 2 fumbles, and which they lost 1, and then interception in this game. So I think it's manifesting itself in that way a little bit. And then I also think, once they started off so poorly, it probably added to it even more. Just feeling like you're in a hole and you got to dig out and you can't afford to lose any of these games. They started that 1-2 record. So I don't know. I think they're going to be fine from a fantasy production standpoint, but it'll be interesting to see as far as the actual wins and losses, how this plays out the rest of the year.
Yeah, I agree with you. Man, these silly little plays they do where they were talking about how the red zone offense, we let anybody come in and design plays, and that's why we're doing these. Kelce starts at quarterback, and everybody switches sides, and they're doing crazy underhanded shovel passes and stuff. That stuff's pretty cute when you're winning, but man, it looks pretty dumb when you're losing, and that's what they look like right now.
Yeah, it's same thing with the no-look passes and all that stuff.
Yeah. Did you see that pitch that Kelce had last week?
Yeah.
Against the Titans when that stuff's
Yeah.
crazy. It didn't seem to have that much of an advantage, and it can be disastrous if it doesn't work.
Yeah, I think getting back to their fundamentals and just executing the plays as they're called instead of trying to do all this exotic stuff is probably what they need. You know what I think they really need though, Trevin? A bye week, like we just talked about. I actually think that would help them a lot. Just kind of reset and refocus and realize, you're 3-4. It's not the end of the, or you're 3-4. It's not the end of the world. You have plenty of time this season to make the playoffs and end up with 10 or 11 wins or something like that. So,
man, they still have 4 more games till the bye week. It looks like, and it's not an easy schedule to get there. What do you think? Do the Chiefs make the playoffs? They're sitting at 3-4.
Yeah, with 7 teams, it's hard to envision them not. You?
I don't know. It's you just kind of guess that you'll probably have to finish 11-6, maybe 10-7 to get a wild card spot. So these losses are already kind of stacking up on them. I don't think they can lose 3 more times is about it for the record, for the way the season's gone, which they've shown they can do in the past, but they don't look like they can go. I can't do the math off the top of my head. 7-3 the rest of the way. At this point, that looks pretty tough, and they got a tough schedule.
Yeah, last year you had to be 11-5. It looks like to make the playoffs.
So yeah, 11-6 this year, or 10-7 probably.
Yeah,
be about the limit.
If the AFC is as good as it was last year overall, we'll see. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, but just to get to their bye week, they play the Giants, which should be fine. And then they have the Packers, Raiders, and Cowboys. None of those threes you'd say are gimmies, especially with the Chiefs are playing this year. They lose 2 of those, they're really looking at a hole going into the bye week.
Raiders looking like a gimme to me.
You must not watch a lot of football.
That'll be interesting to see. A pretty crucial stretch for them coming up here. Next, Trevin.
Oh, you didn't do trick or treat, did you? Oh, yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did.
You did.
I did a regular candy bar.
My fault.
And you did? Fun size?
Fun size candy bar for me. Yep.
All right. Trade deadlines, Trevin, in fantasy leagues. What do you think about those?
I like them. They're getting my king size candy bar and put some pressure on everybody to make some decisions on how they think their season's going to go, or they're going to punt it till next year and try to get some future assets for next year. So not a lot of some trades happen before the trade deadline, but that's really the part where you got to make your decision on if you're going for it this year or not, and that's where some action happens.
Yeah, I like it too, especially one, because like you mentioned, it forces teams to make a decision and make a move, and I think it spurs activity in your leagues because of that, especially in Dynasty. And then 2, I think, I kind of like the idea of you have to win with a team that you've built rather than getting into the playoffs if there were no trade deadline and being able to trade for some of these players as injuries happen, or if you just upgrade your team because you're going into the championship or whatever. Like, I kind of like the idea that you have to win it with a team that got you there rather than bringing in these ringers at the last minute. I know a lot of that's personal preference, and there's probably some more hardcore trade lovers out there that would disagree, but that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yep. We're on the same page there. What do they get from you?
I'll do regular candy bar. Like, I don't love it, but I like it.
I love it.
Do you love Marquise Brown? He's next on our list.
I do. I think we need to give Marquise Brown some love this year. He has been a guy that I've really been upset with the last couple of years since he came into the league. I was high on him both years. I always got him in redraft leagues. I finally gave up on him. I just couldn't take it anymore. He wasn't putting up stats. He wasn't a go-to receiver. And lo and behold, he's turned into that this year. He's sitting at number 6 overall for wide receivers in PPR this year, 130 points overall, and 19 points a game. So he's finally coming through and being that receiver I wanted him to be. So we can call him Hollywood Brown, and I'll give the guy a regular-sized candy bar because good for him. It's totally screwed me on the 2 years that I did take him, and I finally gave up on taking him, but glad he's having fun.
Yeah, he's been excellent so far this year, Trevin. It's been really interesting these last couple of weeks to see, with Rashad Bateman returning from the IR, how they've kind of balanced that. Against the Chargers, he didn't get a lot of work, only 5 targets, and some of that was probably just the Chargers' pass defense is so good. 4 catches for 35 yards in that game. But then against the Bengals, they got smacked, and they were passing a lot, and he got 14 targets, 321 air yards, but he
5 receptions.
Only of the 321 air yards, he converted 80 into actual yards and on 5 catches. He did get a touchdown in that game, so it was a good fantasy week for him. Number 10 among receivers, but that's something I'll be keeping an eye on going forward, is just because, these first 5-6 weeks, 5 weeks, I think it was, before Bateman entered, he kind of had the rule. I mean, he had to compete with Sammy Watkins, and the 2 games Sammy Watkins was healthy before he got hurt, but huge weapon.
Same page there. Yep.
So, but now he's got Rashad Bateman there, so it'll be interesting to see how they balance that and Mark Andrews going forward.
My God, I didn't even realize he's had 6 touchdown catches so far this year. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that might be not quite sustainable. We'll see.
But there you go. You giving him trick or treat.
Oh, he gets a king-size candy bar for his production so far, but I'd temper expectations a little bit going forward. You?
I gave him a regular size. I was going to give him a king size for what he's done to me in the past, but I'm happy for him.
All right, Trevin, our last one. I'll let you tee this one up since you added to the list.
Oh, this has happened to me 2 weeks in a row. Monday Night Football deciding fantasy matchups that you have going on. I'm definitely giving this a trick. I don't know if I'm scaring at my doorway. He's definitely, if Monday Night Football deciding fantasy matchups came up to my door on Halloween, he's not getting any candy from me. If I had like a hole dug in the ground, I'd kick him in it. So getting a trick, no treat from me. It's just, I really don't like watching it when I know what I need and going against somebody who has another player on there. So every play, it's just feeling like I'm winning or losing. And it's with teams I don't even care about. The Raiders aren't playing, but I'm just living and dying with every play, and it's no fun. And it'd probably be fun if it worked out for me one of these last 2 weeks, but it hasn't. So I don't like it.
I'm doing a trick as well. I'm probably doing something like lining the sidewalk with fireworks, so he has to be real nervous walking up to the door or something. Because that's how I feel watching these Monday night games, especially when I'm on the. It sucks when you're watching and you're just hoping that your opponent's guy doesn't do something.
It's like a magnet to him every time when you have an opponent that you just don't go to him. I was going against Kamara last week. Just for the love of God, stop passing to Kamara, and every pass is to Kamara.
Yeah. And when you don't have anybody going, it's really nerve-wracking the whole game. So that's how I'd want them to feel walking up to my house. I do enjoy it. It is kind of fun when it's, you have the guy going and you're just cheering for that guy to get the ball, especially if it turns out to win. But overall, not a fan. I had, as you know, my undefeated team in our Campus to Canton League on the NFL side going up against Gerald Everett, and I lost by like half a point because Gerald Everett had a 12-yard rush. Only thing he did like after halftime when I was winning by like 0.4. So thanks a lot, Gerald Everett. No thank you on Monday Night Football. You get a big fat trick from me.
I had to root for Geno Smith, rooting against Alvin Kamara on Monday night. It was the worst night of my life.
It was pretty entertaining seeing your text, though.
Yep, so they get a big trick. No more.
All right, Trevin, that was Trick or Treat as we move into round 2 here for our Halloween special. What do you got?
Yeah, so I thought we'd talk about our teams a little bit. The main point I wanted to make was the AFC is kind of fun this year. We've just, the last several years, it's just been Chiefs or Ravens. There's been a couple strong teams at the top where it just doesn't matter. And those two are going to be those. I mean, Steelers are up there too, especially last year when they started 11-0 or whatever. And it's pretty open this year. None of those teams are right at the top. We got the Bengals, and then my Raiders and your Titans are both up there at 5-2. So it's pretty open this year. It's pretty enjoyable to have that, see some different faces at the top, and two of them happen to be our team. So what do you think about your Titans so far this year, coming off 2 big wins?
They've really impressed me the last 2 weeks, especially on the defensive side. Like, I know they weren't great against the Bills, but they did enough to beat the Bills on defense. So love to see that. And then they really shut down the Chiefs, which really impressed me. I mean, Mahomes only had like 200 yards passing in that game. So incredible, especially 1 week after they lost their first round pick to a torn ACL, who's a cornerback. So I love that. I was really surprised by that. I had a lot of Chiefs Titans stacks and DFS because I expected it to be a shootout, but the Chiefs didn't do their part to make it that way. So really optimistic going forward, Trevin. I mean, yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be fascinating to see who ends up with the bye at the end of the season, and if the Bills and the Ravens can reassert themselves at the top of this, or if it's one of the newcomers, whether it's the Bengals, the Ravens, the Titans, or the Raiders that kind of hangs on to take that top seed and get that bye.
Boy, I was wrong about the Bengals so far, at least. I really didn't think they'd come out this strong this year. And Jamar Chase looks incredible, and they're really putting it together. Please explain to me the Titans losing to the Jets, because that might be the craziest outcome so far this year, looking back on it.
Yeah, they could be sitting real pretty at 6-1 if they hadn't done that, huh?
The Jets look god awful, and the Titans are beating everybody.
You want to know who the leading receivers in that game were?
For both teams?
For the Titans.
Okay.
Jeremy McNichols, Chester Rogers, Josh Reynolds, Nick Westbrook, Ikeen, or however you pronounce his last name, Anthony Ferkser. They had no Julio Jones. They had no AJ Brown, and they were playing. I mean, Derrick Henry had 33 carries for 157 yards. There's only so much he can do. I mean, I think it really just comes down to the defense. You can't let Zach Wilson go 21 of 34 for 300 yards and a couple of touchdowns. So I don't know, just a full team effort there on the defensive side, and then on the offense, I think it's just the injuries and Henry not being able to overcome it by himself, more or less. So
you'd be pretty easy to say that Zach Wilson's better than Patrick Mahomes, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what the stats tell us. My advanced metrics have been on that one since day one. Yeah, that's a baffling one. If they were to miss the playoffs or miss the number 1 seed by 1 game, that'd be the one you'd look back on and just be like, man, that really sucks.
Every season there's kind of some weird outcomes towards the beginning of the season before teams had it all figured out, but that one already looks pretty strange.
Yeah, absolutely. You think the Raiders keep it up? Who's more likely to miss the playoffs, the Raiders or the Bengals?
You'd have to say the Raiders, I think, just based on their division with Chargers, they already beat the Raiders once, and the Chiefs, I'm still not confident the Raiders are going to beat them twice. So just having those teams in the division, I'd be more surprised if out of those two teams, I'd be more surprised if the Raiders made it, I guess, I think is the question you asked.
Yeah.
But they're sitting pretty good. It's nice to be 5-2, just based on the math and games remaining. If they can get 6 more wins, get into that 11 wins, it should be close to that playoff spot.
Other than the Chiefs, which team not currently in the playoff based on the current standings, is most likely to make the playoffs. So you've got here, I'll read them for you. The Steelers at 3-3, the Patriots at 3-4, the Colts at 3-4, the Broncos at 3-4.
So the Browns are in it right now at 4-3. That puts them in the playoffs.
Yeah, they'd be the number 7 seed.
Oh,
Steelers, Patriots, Colts, Broncos.
I'd have to say the Patriots, I guess. I really don't like the Patriots, but that division with the Jets and the Dolphins in it just gives them some wins, I think.
I think the Patriots are kind of a paper.
I think so too, but just that division, you get those free wins. It looks like with the Jets and the Dolphins.
But they've already played the Jets twice and the Dolphins once. So then you look at that. So they beat 2 of their 3 wins are against the Jets.
2 of the 3 wins are against the Jets.
The other one is against the Texans. So
it's weird how people are talking. Maybe I just listen to too many Patriots fans or follow too many Patriots fans, but there's still a lot of optimism in saying how good they're doing this year. But yeah, you look at who their wins are against, and they're just not that good.
Yeah, and they've lost to the Dolphins and the Saints. So, but you haven't been listening to Duchesne's enough. He's trashing the Patriots every week. So
he's been gone. I think he just finally made his return.
He's on Twitter. He's been active.
No.
So I will not say them. I would honestly, I think, say the Colts. I don't think it's that likely, but they would probably be my pick out of that one. They had a tough schedule so far this season. They've lost to the Seahawks, the Rams, the Titans, and the Ravens. Just beat the 49ers, really playing in a monsoon basically on Monday night. They've also beat the Dolphins and the Texans. So they have still on their schedule 2 games against the Jaguars, a game against the Jets. So you chalk up probably 3 wins there, another game against the Texans. So you're looking at probably 4 wins potentially there. That gets them to 7. And then the rest are against the Titans, which is a big one this week. And then they have at the Bills, against the Bucks, versus the Patriots, at the Cardinals, versus the Raiders. So the rest of those are kind of tough, but they do have some easier games at least left.
Yeah, they can win those 3 easy ones you're talking about. Puts them at 6-4. They just got to have 5 of those next ones.
Yeah.
Can you please explain to me in that 49ers Colts game how that punt where the guy punted it back into his end zone, Ayuk, how that's not a safety? Not enough people talking about this.
I don't know the answer.
I've been thinking about it way too much. If that's the case, then how come every time there's a punt that's going to be landing inside your own 10, just throw it out of the back of the end zone or kick it, whatever you got to do?
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
When it's just sitting at the 2 or whatever, just come flying in and kick it. That looked really strange to me, especially where he did it. He kicked it from like the 25 or whatever. It's not like it was sitting on the goal line.
I hope that we saw the links Mike Vrabel will go to take advantage of loopholes in the rule book, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Titans start trying to do that.
Can we also talk about Kyle Shanahan's coaching record?
If you want to.
It's just kind of funny that I was kind of unaware of this, that what his coaching record is, because he's always talked about with the same as Sean McVay and kind of these young gunners. Yeah. Where he's been there for 5 years and he has 1 winning season so far, and his overall record is 31-39 in the regular season. So I know they've been bitten with injuries every year, but at some point you can't just blame it on injuries. You're either winning coach or you're not.
Sean McVay on the hot seat?
No, Kyle Shanahan is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think he is?
No, I don't think so. Because the narrative still just he's this whiz kid that can't do anything wrong. But boy, he makes a lot of wrong draft picks and can't win football games.
Yeah. Their schedule has been pretty interesting this year. So they beat the Lions and the Eagles to start, but then they've lost to the Packers, Seahawks, Cardinals, and Colts. So that division is looking mighty tough. You got the Cardinals still looking at undefeated, Trevin. The Bucks obviously at 6-1. Packers, Cowboys, and Rams also only have 1 loss. So your top 5 seeds in that NFC are pretty solid.
Yeah. As far as just to talk about my Raiders a little bit more, it's been fun to have 2 2 wins, but
the listeners love it.
I'm getting to it. It's been fun to have this 2-game winning streak after Gruden's gone, but man, the Eagles are terrible, and so are the Broncos. So not taking a lot from those 2 wins, except for if you're a fan of those teams, there's some changes coming because they are terrible.
Oh man, at least I got a bye this week, so another week without a loss.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts, the king of garbage time fantasy points. I'll tell you that much, because that guy cannot complete a pass when it matters. But then they're down 20 in the fourth quarter, and their defense are playing soft. He's just running and throwing all over the place.
Yeah, I don't know how long he keeps the job, but while he's in there, he's going to put up fantasy points. He's one where he's kind of like Jameis a couple of years ago, where you don't really watch the game, but you'll look at your fantasy box score and you'll be pretty happy with how it turned out.
What would you do if you had Hurts on your dynasty team?
I don't know if you could get that. The hard thing is going to be if he does actually get replaced by Gardner Minshew. There have been some rumblings. I don't know how likely that is. Just like they might try it. It's just hard to see them sticking with it long term because they're probably going to lose no matter who's quarterback. And Hurts is probably better. I don't know. We'll see. So
if I wasn't competing, I'd be trying to get rid of. I'd be seeing what I could get for trading Hurts before Minshew. Yeah, before Minshew replaces him, because even if it's just for a quarter or whatever, I think that's going to really hurt his value on Dynasty as soon as he is getting replaced.
Yeah, I agree. That's not a bad strategy. If you're not competing, I have a hard time seeing him having a starting job there next year. So if you're not competing, it makes sense to probably move on.
Yeah, most time with a young quarterback, even if I'm not competing, I'm not going to be trading him because if he's still a starter next year, but I don't think he keeps it. Watching that whole game with the Raiders, he's not good.
Not that we're judging off one game or anything.
I am. I can admit
it. Why am I not surprised? Trevin, let's move on to our pick to click competition where Brett is waxing us.
I don't want to.
He got another 2 points last week with Zach Ertz at $3,900. He finished with 16 points. He's beating us 6-1. We each have one, and he's got 6 this year. And of course, by this point in the season, you all know the rules, but just in case we have any new listeners, we're picking someone from the main slate on Sunday who will score 15 plus points and cost $5,000 or less on DraftKings. And you can get 1 point if they cost $4,100 to $5,000, 2 points if it's $3,100 to $4,000, or 3 points if they cost $3,000 or less. So Brent got 2 last week for Zach Ertz. You got nothing for J.D. McKissick, who had 9.6 points.
He did score some points, though, right?
He did. He got on the board.
Good. And I'm sure your guy scored some points, too.
Yeah, my guy, of course, did. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a big goose egg. Incredibly disappointing. The Lions are, I don't know, man. They're a mess.
Was that the second time in a row you've taken him?
Yeah. Well, he's been getting like 6, 7, 8 receptions every week. So, when you start with 6 or 7 points as your base, it looks pretty easy to get to 15 if you get a touchdown. But then he does that. So, I don't know what to tell you, man.
You don't have to explain anything to me. That's your guy.
It was revenge game for Goff against the Rams did not go as anticipated.
Poor Lions. They really pulled out all the stops, though. I'll give them credit for that much.
Yeah, I love what Campbell does with his play calling. Might as well. You got nothing to lose. You're 0-6. Go for it.
I think it might be a little bit early to be like showing that much emotion into it, like crying and getting as hyped up as he does. I don't know.
I think that's the only way he knows how to be.
True.
All right, Trevin. Brent's going with Mike Gesicki for $5,000 this week. I don't know how Gesicki's only $5,000. That's ridiculous. Gesicki's been playing really well. He's got a matchup against Buffalo this week, which could be kind of tough. They're 8th against tight ends, so that will be an interesting one to keep an eye on. But Gesicki's put up 21.5 points last week, 22.5 the week before. He's got 2 other games over the 15 points. So on the year, he's got 4 out of his 7 attempts over the 15-point threshold. So Brent's trying to pull a fast one here, Trevin. Going with Mike Gesicki. Who you got?
I go with Kenneth Gainwell this week. He costs 5,000. They're playing the terrible aforementioned Lions. Hopefully, it's a game that the Eagles get a lead on it, and he'll be the starting running back with. I'm blanking on his name, getting hurt.
Miles Sanders.
With Miles Sanders being hurt, seems like Gainwell should take over most of the carries and a lot of the receiving work out of the backfield. So I am going with Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah, really unfortunate to see Sanders go down. He was off to a good start last week before he got hurt. He had 6 carries for 30 yards, also had a reception. So luckily it was just a low ankle sprain. He's supposed to be week to week, but he did not practice on Wednesday, so I would guess he probably misses the game Sunday. So I like your pick here.
Hey, thanks.
You bet. And I'm going with a longer shot. I'm going with Dan Arnold, who cost $2,800 on DraftKings this week. You'd give me 3 points, which is what I'm going to need to start catching up to Bray here, Trevin. Arnold's been doing pretty well since getting traded to Jacksonville, where they obviously wanted him. He's had 5 targets last week, or in week 6, excuse me. They had their bye last week. 8 targets in week 5 against Tennessee. He had 6 catches for 64 in that game, only 2 for 27, but in the game against Miami in week 6. But he's getting the volume. I think, if he can get a touchdown, he's got an outside chance here. And I expect him to finish in that 5 to 8 target range, couple catches, 3 catches for 35 yards. I might need a little more than 35, I guess. Or Dan, maybe 3 catches for 50 yards, 60 yards and a touchdown. Get you there.
I think it was the first week he's at the Jaguars. He had that big week against Tennessee, wasn't it?
I believe that's right.
Yeah. I like it.
Yep. Thank you. We'll see.
Let's catch Brent.
We got to do something here. They are playing the Seahawks. I don't know if I mentioned that. So, Seahawks, middle of the road against tight ends. All right, Trevin, question of the week. Going with our Halloween theme. What are the most overrated and underrated Halloween candies? Go for it.
I don't know if I really have a. We'll just start with what I like. I don't know if we'll talk about it a little bit. Right, like Reese's peanut butter cups. You can't beat it. So, but you can't really call them overrated or underrated, can you?
No.
Of course, like Twix and Snickers and Kit Kat, those are all the best.
We're not naming good candies, Trevin. Do you understand how this game works?
I'm going through my brain here on what I don't know. I like what are those malt balls?
Whoppers?
Whoppers. I do like Whoppers at Halloween. I'd call that underrated. I don't think it's not one you hear about very often, but when it's in a candy bowl, I like to eat them. I think I eat them only in October every year.
It's a good pick. What about overrated?
Overrated is any mint chocolate. Not a fan.
What's wrong with you?
Get out of here. I also don't like Baby Ruths. I don't like 100 Grand. Definitely the Mounds and the almond, whatever. Yuck. Anything with coconut. No, thank you. Those are all overrated.
You're dead wrong. Almond Joy. Almond Joy is my number one most underrated.
Ugh, gross.
Definitely underrated Almond Joy. And then I also like Salted Nut Roll is an underrated candy. I don't know how common it is for Halloween candy, but
that's not a Halloween.
But it is a candy, so that is an underrated candy. Sometimes get like Halloween. Those are my 2 underrated candies. Almond Joy, I love. You got the almond on top of that coconut. Friggin' delicious.
You keep explaining it, I'm gonna puke.
Overrated. I hate Milky Way. I never understand why that's a thing.
I'm with you.
Just tastes like a Snickers without the peanuts. Terrible. Give me a Snickers all day over that. It just tastes sweet. It doesn't have anything that sticks out to me. And then the other one I'll say, and again, maybe this is more of just a candy take in general than a Halloween one, but Jolly Ranchers fucking suck.
What? You just suck on them. You don't.
They stick to your teeth. Be offensive? They stick to your teeth.
Are you chewing them?
No, but they touch your
You're eating them all wrong. You're eating them wrong.
Not good. Overrated. They're fine. The flavor is fine, but the fact that they just stick to your teeth and they're annoying to eat ruins it.
Huh. What about candy corn? What's your take on candy corn?
Not a fan. I do like the candy corn the candy pumpkins, just because you get a little bit of the harder shell but the softer inside. But then the corn I've never liked.
Isn't it like this exact same stuff? The pumpkin and the corn?
But the texture is different because you have the more mass with the pumpkin, so you get a little softer on the inside versus the corn. It's just kind of harder all the way through.
Huh. I don't know about that.
Try
I don't
'em.
like candy corn. I think it's kind of fun to eat during Halloween. They don't offend me. I
Your,
would call them
assign-
underrated.
your assignment for this week is to try pumpkins and corn and see if you can appreciate what I'm saying about the
I think
texture
pumpkins
difference.
might be too. I think the thing I like about the candy corn is there's not a lot to it. I don't really have to commit to anything.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't know if I need a full. Those pumpkins, they're like the size of a donut.
They're not that big. Oh, man.
What other candy takes you got? Laffy Taffies? What do you think about Laffy Taffies?
They're fine.
good-
I'm not a
that's a good
huge fan
Halloween
of the
treat.
mouthfeel on that either.
Mouthfeel. Don't say that again.
It's a word.
You like runts in your Halloween sack?
I can't even remember
Nerds.
what runts
I meant
are.
nerds. I meant nerds.
Yeah, I do like nerds.
I like
Owen
those
had
little
nerds.
box of nerds.
Owen had nerds for the first time this past. He got them for. We got family pictures taken, and the photographer gave him some afterwards for doing a good job, and he loved them. So
Big box, little box.
just a little kid size.
I like that little bag. You throw that whole thing in your mouth.
Yeah, well, he's 4, so he doesn't do that, but he enjoyed
Eat
them
them one at a
nonetheless.
time.
He pretty much. He can fit his little tiny fingers in there and pull them out like with a pinch. So
Twizzlers, that's another good Halloween snack. You got that individual wrap Twizzlers.
they're fine.
Huh. Do you like the M&Ms and Skittles? The little baggies?
Yeah, I'm not a huge Skittles guy. They're okay. I like them fine, but I like if I'm going to the gas station, I'm not getting a bag of Skittles. But I would get like a bag of peanut M&Ms, especially. You?
I like the small amounts on Halloween. I like those little sacks. I don't really like the big sacks of Skittles and M&Ms. Flavored Tootsie Rolls. What do you think about those?
Yeah, I could do without them.
That's
They're-
more of an Anavar candy
Yeah.
to me.
Parade
That's for you.
candy.
Yeah,
Every-
parade candy.
All of our listeners know what Anavar is, I'm sure.
Reese's Pieces. That's pretty elite Halloween candy.
Yeah, I like the pieces, but I'd rather just have a actual Reese's cup. Or I don't even know what they have for Halloween. They have pumpkins.
Yeah, those are the best. The holiday Reese's are the best Reese's. Or
What do you
peanut
like
butter.
better,
They're bigger.
the eggs or the pumpkins or don't they have like Christmas trees or something?
Yeah, the trees. Probably the eggs.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
They're all good.
Probably because they're closest to an actual cup in shape and size.
I will say that. That's all I got for candy takes.
All right. Maybe we'll talk a little about our costumes in the after show.
Isn't there one more thing to do before that?
There is. You got a Halloween beer this week for us? Let's do a
I
beer
don't have
chat.
Halloween beer. I've got another Estes Park pack that I told you my father and mother-in-law went to Estes Park, brought back some 6-packs for me of different beers from a brewery there. This is a wild honey wheat
Sounds
stinger.
good. Stinger, huh?
Estes Park
Got a
Brewery.
little,
Got my
got
cup
a
again.
little, got a little yellow jacket on the front there.
Does wild honey.
Why do you drink beer out of a cup and not a glass?
I got these cool new cups.
Just feels weird to drink beer out of a cup for some reason instead of a glass.
Is this a
Maybe I'm weird.
mouthfeel thing again?
I don't know. I guess it's not.
This is
that
like-
weird, but
This is like hard rubber. It's not
maybe
like it's not like plastic.
maybe it's because you're drinking a craft beer out of it. Like I guess drinking a Bud Light or something out of a cup wouldn't strike me as weird, but I think of like the craft beers, at the breweries, they always have the special glassware and stuff. So maybe that's why.
Sure. But this isn't like the plastic you'd get at a movie theater or something. This is like hard rubber.
Yeah, I know you're still. How much is that fence company paying you to promote their stuff on here every week?
I'm not telling you. Then you're going to be wanting some sponsorship money. This is my own NIL deal.
Just all of a sudden, Trevin's got all these fence company cups that he's using on the live stream here.
I'll have to show you one next week that's glow in the dark. Whole cup glows in the dark.
They're definitely paying you. Now I want in.
This you're not getting in. This one's just okay. I like those other Estes ones more.
Score?
6-7.
Can't believe you're not going to let me wet the beak on that sweet, sweet fence advertising money.
No way, man. This is my beak wetter. Wet your own beak.
I'm about to with some Moon Man from New Glarus Brewing Company. This is a No Coast Pale Ale, they call it. Wisconsin beer again this week. My in-laws also got me into this.
Last time I remember it was Naked Beer or something.
Yeah. Totally Naked, I think it was called.
What's this one called again?
Moon Man, which
Moon
has
Man.
a paw print for some reason.
Huh. Named after the dog or something?
Yeah, I think it's Elton John's dog.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And they call it Moon Man instead of Rocket Man to avoid the licensing fees.
No, I think you're screwing with me.
Nothing gets by you, does it?
Nope, I'm on top of it.
I can't believe it took me 3 weeks to catch on to your scheme. I'll go 6-2 for the beer. Pretty solid. Nice.
Couple of okay beers tonight for us.
Yep. All right, Trevin. Thanks for being part of the Fantasy Players Club, everybody. We'll have a new episode for you next week. That'll live stream on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Until then, on behalf of Trevin, the Baby Mooner Cremosta, this is Levi the Heartbreak Kid Valentine wishing you good luck in Week 8.
See you.
All right, Trevin. You picked the after show topic, so I'll let you tee it up.
Yeah, I had a question for you this time. So your kids are 4 and just over 1.5, correct?
Yes, 1.5 and 4.
They, your older one getting into Halloween at all, or is it just, does he know what's happening? Is he excited to do costumes and everything like that?
Yeah, so this is like the first year he really kind of gets excited about it, and he wanted a Spider-Man costume, so we got him that, and he's excited to wear that, and he asked us what we're gonna wear this week, and I was like, I'm not wearing one. And like, should I be Spider-Man? He's like, yeah. So I don't think I'm gonna do it, but he wanted me to, so he's pretty excited.
Oh, you stinker! Why don't you want to do it?
I don't want to go buy a Spider-Man costume that I'll wear one time.
That's the whole point. Can you imagine the smile on his face if you're also Spider-Man?
It would be pretty cool. I don't know if I can find one this late in the game. We got 4 days. We'll see. But yeah, so then he asked me and Shelly if we're going to dress up and all that. So he's pretty excited. I think he's mostly just excited to dress up like Spider-Man. I don't know that he really grasps the concept of trick-or-treating because he's done like a trunk or treat before, but not real.
Oh yeah, I guess you guys probably weren't able to do much trick-or-treating with him last year with COVID going on. So I really doubt he remembers much before that.
Yeah. What about you?
Oh, my kids don't know what's going on with Halloween yet.
No, they're not dressing up in the womb.
Nope. My dog hates the holiday. I can tell you that much.
Why because the doorbell rings all the time?
Doorbell rings, and he's got a real bad deal with he doesn't like kids at all. So it's just kids with crazy costumes are constantly coming up to the door, and he's just terrified. He's running around the living room barking.
Poor kid.
Yep.
Do you dress him up?
It's actually his first year that we had him with Halloween. We dressed him in a lion costume. So he had a big mane. He's a little golden doodle anyway. So he kind of looked like a lion. And he did really good. We had him, every time the doorbell rang, we used it as like a training exercise to make him sit in the living room. So he'd sit nice there. And then the kids would open the door and I'd say, watch out for my lion. Then he'd come running up to the kids and just let him pet him and whatever. But it's kind of funny for all the kids. They'd watch out for my lion. And here comes this cute dog with a big lion mane on him, running up and licking up and stuff. But he's really turned the corner on hates kids now. So that doesn't work so well anymore.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, it really is.
You think you're going to be able to get that figured out before this baby shows up?
He doesn't hate him and like attack some ways. He's actually scared of little kids outside. So I'm not too worried about him being scared of our kid. I think it's going to be more of an adjustment if he doesn't get all the attention anymore.
Yeah.
But
Understandable.
we'll see. Maybe he'll be scared of our kid too. Just be hell in this house for him.
It's funny you mentioned the lion. Last year, Owen dressed up as a lion. Carson was a pumpkin.
What's Carson this year?
The Hulk.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Are you and Liz dressing up or doing anything?
No, we're not. We'll just be at home and hand out candy. I don't have any plans for costumes, I don't think.
Not going to dress up for that?
Probably not. I don't know. We'll see.
You're as boring as me.
I'm trying to think of a good villain for you to be dressed up with your son being Spider-Man.
Well, the reason he's Spider-Man is because they have this new Spidey and Friends show out on Disney Plus that's targeted to younger kids. And because it's like basically Kid Spider-Man, and then Hulk's also on the show, so that's why Carson's going to be Hulk. And then they also have, there's like 3 different kids that are different variations of Spider-Man. And then they have like Black Panther is also on there. And then the villains are like Rhino, the Green Goblin, and there's some female villain whose name I can't remember. So those would be options, but
I was trying to think of a villain that has pretty regular clothing that you could just call yourself that villain, but I'm really not coming up with anything for Spider-Man.
Just wear some gray clothes and put a horn on my head and say I'm Rhino.
Yeah, you're Rhino then.
There you go.
Oh, this is like I just looked up Spidey and Friends.
Yeah,
like a Super Kids animated show, huh?
Yeah, it's new. It's pretty good actually. They do a nice job with it.
Yeah, most of the Disney Plus shows are.
It's way better than Blippi, I can tell you that much.
So the girl must be like Dr. Octopus's daughter or something?
Green Goblin Doc Ock is the name of the villain.
But it's a girl.
Yeah. Girls can be doctors, Trevin.
Reminds me of that
I don't know
joke.
why you think that's so funny.
It just did hit me right in the right spot for that joke of the two, what is that? Father and son were in a car wreck, and the father dies. The kid goes to the hospital, and the doctor looks at the kid and says, "I can't operate on this kid. That's my son." Why is that? Because the doctor is a woman. That's like the whatever you call it, the end of that joke.
The punchline.
The punchline of that joke. So you saying doctors can be women just reminded me of it.
You really crushed that delivery there, pal.
Thanks, man. I didn't think of the joke. I was just telling you what this joke is, and that's why I laughed at you saying that.
Oh my. So yeah, Dr. Octopus, I guess, is what Doc Ock is short for.
Oh yeah, that's who it was in that Spider-Man movie I liked a lot, the animated one, Into the Spider-Verse.
There you go.
She was a woman on that one.
There you go.
What else you got for Halloween? So what are you guys gonna do? Just run around your neighborhood trick-or-treating?
I don't know. I don't know if I think Shelly was thinking about going trick-or-treating with her sister's kid, but I don't know if that's still the plan or what.
Yeah.
We'll see. Last year they had a party at her parents' house, and that was kind of the main thing we did with COVID, like you mentioned. So just us and her sister and parents. You got any show recommendations this week?
That one on Hulu with Michael Keaton, Dope Sick, the one about the Oxycontin. Watched 2 episodes of that. It's really good. I'd recommend that one to anybody. They're doing a really good job with it. Showing the rise of Oxycontin and how pharmacies were. It was just a sales technique for them to lie about it not being addictive and all that type of stuff to get it out there and push it out there. Got everybody addicted to it.
Yeah, they talked a little bit about that on something else I watched. It's wild and it's really sad how
Hmm.
many people have died from that, just being hooked on it. It's crazy how powerful some of those painkillers are.
Yeah, and just the fact that they kept lying about it to get it out there. But I won't spoil everything for it. But the FDA made a label specifically for it that it's non-addictive or whatever. It was the only um, narcotic that had that type of label on it, so that was like their big selling point. And the person at the FDA that did that label never actually tested it themselves. He just put that label on that for him, and then immediately was hired by the OxyContin company to be a executive or whatever.
Oof.
Yeah. How about you?
We've been
Any recommendations?
We watched a miniseries on Showtime that just came out called Buried, which is about this lady, Eileen Franklin, who I'll just read the description. So, while playing with her young daughter, she suddenly had a memory of witnessing the rape and murder of her childhood best friend, who was 8 years old at the time, which led to a reopening of a case that had gone unsolved for nearly 20 years. And in a shocking twist, when she came forward with her memory, she told police that she remembered the murderer was her own father. So this is just kind of I think this happened in like the 80s or maybe early 90s, if I remember right. But it was like the first repressed memory case where they tried to go through all the science to determine whether that was an actual thing and if it was, how reliable it was, and whether it was enough to convict him or not. So it kind of talks about the court case and then all the stuff around that, and then whether they end up believing her or not, and whether it's enough to convict, and then just kind of all the fallout and how that's had some twists and turns in it that I wasn't really expecting. So it's kind of an interesting premise to start with, and then you have a lot of other, not a lot, but a handful of other things that kind of pop up and surprise you, and really, I would say it's worth a watch.
I'll have to watch that. How many episodes is it?
I think it's 4 or 5, something like that. They're about
Is
an
that
hour
the
each.
is that the total, or is that out so far?
That's the total. Yeah, they're
Gotcha.
all out.
Nice.
Yeah,
And of course, Succession. That one. There's been 2 episodes of that new season, and it's rocking and rolling. It's a great show.
yeah. I need to get caught up and watch the new ones. There you go. A couple recommendations to get you through the week. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Yep. See ya.
See you.